Minister of Tourism Lindiwe Sisulu has briefed the media on the recovery of both the local and domestic tourism since lockdown restrictions were lifted. We heard some of the minister's briefing now, and let's talk to Kopano Gumbi, who has been following that story for us. Kopano, good morning to you. So the minister has spoken, making some announcements, and that is South African tourism, which is going to be merged with Brand South Africa. How's this news being digested?
Yeah, Polly, that's right. That was one of the last things she threw in at the end of the presentation, to say that SA Tourism, or Brand SA, is going to now be part of SA Tourism. And that's really just to create a little bit more synergy between the two departments. Brand SA used to sit with the presidency, and so now sitting under the SA Tourism brand, at least there will be some cohesion in messaging going forward and how they coordinate those messages. Interestingly, the minister explaining to us, in fact, that tourism has received an unqualified audit, meaning a clean audit, in this last financial year. There were no hitches or any disturbances in their department, which she says they're very proud to have achieved, at least given the circumstances and the economic environment and the fact that people have not been traveling as much as they should have. Now, earlier when we spoke, we were talking about how the domestic markets have been trying to drive recovery, and that has actually come out to be the case in their financial results now. Tourism SA telling us that 15 million trips were taken by South Africans, so they are the ones who've been driving a majority of domestic travel and growth of the tourism sector. And equally, as we mentioned earlier, the minister did flag the fact that, in fact, the airline industry is one of the key concerns, that they themselves are also worried about how domestic travel and domestic airline travel will continue going forward, especially as we get into this busy summer season. And they're in conversations with the Civil Aviation Authority, trying to see how they could possibly help or benefit in any kind of way, how they could help the industry recover what has been lost so far, Polly.
Yeah, Kopano, the minister not promising bonuses for her people, but certainly using the words that they've done exceedingly well in terms of trying to keep things afloat. What about the external sector, or should I say the international tourism environment, Kopano? We know that the South African tourism relies heavily on those foreign currencies coming into the country. That's basically international tourists. So what is being done to try and attract that market back?
Absolutely, Polly. In fact, the UK remains one of the largest markets when it comes to international travel here in South Africa. Many people from the EU and the UK especially come into South Africa. But interestingly, what has been driving international growth is actually travel from countries outside of South Africa. In other African countries have been coming to South Africa quite a lot. And she made mention of 3 countries that have driven a lot of international travel here, which is Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Lesotho, in fact. So the SADC region is driving a lot of our international travel or tourism in the country, although they are trying very hard to attract the foreign currencies, the US dollar and the pounds and all the euros. And so there are roadshows set up across those various jurisdictions to try and make South Africa an enticing and attractive place to come and visit. And they're seeing some traction in that regard. In fact, the interim or the acting CEO of South African Tourism telling us that they're seeing a growth in the number of foreign travelers who are booking their flights much further in advance than they did before, increasing the interest, or demonstrating at least that they're interested in coming to South Africa at some point. And it'll be important for us to try and continue to attract those kinds of investors as we look towards this busy holiday season.
Kopano Gumbi, give us an update on the back of Minister of Tourism Lindiwe Sisulu's address at a gathering in Johannesburg.